keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only go.
What's going on, guys? JK back with another video, and today I'm going to be doing predictions for all the top free agents and where they're going to be signing. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agree or disagree with in the video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content that I'm going to be putting out, whether it's about all the free agency signings, the NFL draft that's coming up, and NFL Pro Days. Please make sure to subscribe. And jumping into this one, the free agents, this is kind of a weaker free agent class. It's seen as one of the worst ones in the last couple of years, but there's still some talented guys that were able to make a lot of plays this year that are going to be able to go out and get a big deal from another team. And most of the guys that I have in here are going to be signing with new teams. It's not going to be any guys that are going to be re-signing. Jumping into the first one I'm going to be predicting is Sam Darnold. Ever since the Seahawks traded Geno Smith a couple days ago, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. I do think that they're going to end up looking to draft a quarterback later on, maybe a Jackson Dart in the second round. But I do think that they're going to look and try to sign Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's the heavy favorite for Seattle ever since they traded Geno. I think the reason that they traded Geno Smith was because they knew that they were going to be able to sign either Sam Darnold or maybe even get a backup plan and Aaron Rodgers. But I do think Sam Darnold is going to head out west and go to Seattle and sign a 2 to 3 year deal with them. I would assume worth a lot of money. That's going to net him mostly a lot, maybe even 30, $40 million a year. And if I had to guess another team, I would say that he's going to re-sign with the Vikings. I do think it's either going to be he signs with Seattle on a 2 to 3 year deal, or he ends up going back to the Vikings for like a year or two and signing with one of those two teams. But I do think that Seattle, since they were traded Geno Smith, that they kind of have a heavy insight on who they wanted to sign, and that they have a kind of insight that they're going to have a really good chance to go out and sign this guy that they want. And I think that their guy is going to be Sam Darnold. Moving on to the second guy that had a huge impact in the Super Bowl and huge interior presence is Milton Williams. The Eagles aren't going to be able to re-sign him. He had a huge breakout year, and he's been very consistent this year. I think that he made a huge impact and that he has shown a lot of progression. I think the main team that's going to throw a bag at him is the Panthers. I think that's the main team that's going to end up signing him is the Carolina Panthers, just because they just need help on defense. I think that they're going to go into the draft at pick number 8 and they're going to draft a defensive player, whether it's Will Johnson or another edge piece. But to be able to complement that, they need to go in and sign Milton Williams here to be able to have an interior presence on that defensive line to be able to help them out. They just need talent. They don't have any defensive talent. Most of their woes last year was towards the end of the year when Bryce Young was coming along. It was mostly their defense giving up a lot of points, a lot of touchdowns that were costing them the game. I think that's going to be their main focus going into this free agency is to just add defensive talent. And Milton Williams is definitely going to hold down that interior and make a big impact for them and be a nice piece with whatever defensive player they go in and then draft at number 8. Some other guesses, I would easily see him going and signing with the Patriots just because the Patriots have the most cap space. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make good signings, but they're definitely going to have a lot of leverage to be able to sign these guys because they're going to be able to throw a lot of money against them. And with this, whichever team signs them between the Panthers and the Cardinals, whichever team signs Milt Williams, it's definitely going to have an impact on where Mason Graham ends up going in the NFL draft. But I think with the Patriots, they're going to be looking to pair someone up with Christian Barmore, and I think it's a 50-50 chance whether he ends up going to the Panthers or the Patriots. And if I had to make a guess, I would say the Panthers. I feel like that they're going more the upside right now. And especially with how they played towards the end of the year, it was just their defensive struggles. I feel like that they're going to make it that main priority. But the Patriots could end up throwing them back and throwing them a lot more money to be able to pair up with Christian Barmore. And the other team that I think that he could end up going to is the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon, who ended up coaching Milton Williams a couple of years ago when he was the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia. The Arizona Cardinals have never really had a really good interior presence on their defensive line for the last couple of years. I think Gannon, in his defense, obviously from Philadelphia, that's a main focal point, and he's going to look to sign one of these guys that he has ended up coaching in the last couple of years, and he used to be the defensive coordinator for him. He knows this guy. He knows that he can come in and produce in his defense. So I think that he could make a focus to go out and sign Milton Williams to the Arizona Cardinals to try to beef up their defensive line that has been very weak the last couple of years. On to the next guy that I think is going to sign somewhere, and Josh Sweat. I think that he is going to go to the Arizona Cardinals. Josh Sweat had one of the biggest impacts in the Super Bowl. Some people even think that he could have been the Super Bowl MVP. He definitely, as the season went on, got better, and he ended up getting tons of pressures. He made himself a lot of money in that Super Bowl. If he didn't have that Super Bowl performance, he still would have got a lot of money and signed a decent contract. But ever since that Super Bowl performance where he was constantly getting pressured on Patrick Mahomes, I can't remember if he had exactly 3 sacks, but he had around almost 3 sacks all by himself on in that game against the Chiefs. So he definitely made himself a lot more money based on that performance. And since Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals didn't get Milton Williams in this case scenario, I think that they would go out and get Josh Sweat, and Josh Sweat would be a nice edge piece for him, and they could look to another position in the draft. I think the Arizona Cardinals are a sneaky team to kind of go offense in the draft, maybe go another receiver, but with them signing that edge presence, they just need help on that defensive line, and they just don't have a lot of talent on that defensive line. And I think that's what Jonathan Gannon is going to want to do. He's just going to want to get a bunch of pass rushers in there, kind of like how the Philadelphia Eagles have done in the last couple of years. Some other teams like the Patriots, they missed out on Milton Williams. They could end up going for Josh Sweat just to try to get more pressure on the defense line. They just signed Harold Landry as I'm recording this video, and they could end up looking to pair Harold Landry with Josh Sweat and have both of those, and just not really have to worry about the edge department coming up in the draft. And then they could end up adding an offensive piece in the draft, or they could end up just drafting Mason Graham and completing their defensive line. But with them, like I said in the last one, with them having the most money, they could go in and throw at another player, and they have the most money to be able to do that. The third team that I think he could potentially sign with is the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears made a lot of trades recently for mostly their interior of their offensive line to protect Caleb Williams. They still have Montez Sweat. I think Josh Sweat and having kind of the Sweat brothers, although they're not actually brothers, but the last name. I think pairing them up on the defensive line to be able to go out and be a dominant edge presence duo for their team would be obviously a great fit. But I just think that he's going to feel more comfortable. Jonathan Gannon, he's going to get offered a lot more money from Arizona, I think, because they're going to make it more of that priority. And the Bears are going to go for another area of need that we'll see later in this video. Moving on to the second quarterback that I have signing here in the prediction video is Justin Fields. It's definitely just coming down to the Jets or the Steelers, and this might be my own personal bias as a Jets fan, but I have him signing with the Jets. We're hearing a lot of rumors that the Jets are very interested in him and are going to make a huge move if he ends up making free agency. I don't know if he's going to end up re-signing in the next 12 hours until free agency starts and the legal tampering period starts. But I think if he makes it into free agency, Justin Fields is going to end up picking the Jets. I think that he's going to see this as an opportunity to come out and show his skills. Yeah, I think he kind of seen that in Pittsburgh, but then Russell Wilson came back and they went with Russ no matter what. I think he's going to have a sour taste in his mouth from that, and he's going to end up picking the Jets. Although I do think the Steelers are keeping a relationship with both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to be able to keep both of them and potentially bring both of them back. So I do think it's either the Jets or the Steelers for him is going to be the big opportunity for either one. And it really just kind of depends how much money is going to be thrown and the situation that he feels is better. Does he feel like that he has a better opportunity with the Jets and being the solo quarterback and taking over for a year to show his potential? Or does he think that he has a better chance with the Steelers and potentially Russell Wilson goes somewhere else and signing somewhere else, and maybe he'll be able to take over the Steelers at that point? Or if he ends up signing with the Steelers and they bring Russ back, then he's kind of stuck in that backup area. I think that he would prefer the situation with the Jets to be able to be the main starter and to show out on a team that's a new coaching staff that's kind of been hyped up that a lot of players are really liking to play for. On to the first offensive lineman that I have predicting is Drew Dahlman from the Atlanta Falcons. I think that he's going to sign with Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears are going into this offseason, and their main idea is to protect Caleb Williams, their franchise quarterback, no matter what happens. We've already seen that. They went out and they traded for Jonah Jackson from the Rams. They went out and they traded for Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in football from the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're probably going to have to give Joe Thuney an extension. And the only offensive lineman piece that they really need need now is center, and Drew Dahlman is going to be able to fit that piece. I think that they're going to come in and throw a bag at him to be able to be that fifth offensive line that is going to be very solid and have a lot of experience on it for Chicago, for Caleb Williams to be able to protect and be able to operate. Caleb Williams was one of the most sacked quarterbacks last year in history, and I think that they know that. And with the new regime, Ben Johnson, he's used to having dominant offensive lines. They did it in Detroit. They went and they spent a lot of value on the offensive line and had one of the most dominant run games and offensive lines in the NFL for the last two-ish years. And I think that he's going to try to replicate that in Chicago. I think that they're going to end up going and signing Drew Dahlman, make a move towards Josh Sweat, not necessarily get him. And once they sign Dahlman, I think that they're going to, in the draft, look to either go running back or they're going to look to either go an edge piece. Some other teams I think that they could end up going to, I think he could go back to Atlanta. I think Atlanta could look to be able to help out Michael Penix and protect him and their own rookie quarterback. I think that they could look to end up re-signing him as well in his free agency. And the second team that's not the Falcons with him resigning, I think it would be the Seahawks. The Seahawks have one of the worst interior offensive lines in the NFL. They're definitely going to be looking to upgrade that through the draft, but I think that they're going to look for a center because they do not have one and they need to get a center. They could go and get Josh Myers, but I think that they're going to make a big push for Drew Dahlman here to be able to come in and be their center of the next couple of years because they legit just do not have a center on the roster and their interior offensive lineman or their interior offensive line was terrible last year and it had a lot of issues with it. They have their tackles kind of set, but they definitely do need to upgrade that area. So moving on to the safety that could end up pulling a lot of money is Javon Holland. The Miami Dolphins are not going to be resigning him, so he is going to be sitting in the ultimate market. And I think that he's going to end up signing with the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are going to be looking to upgrade their defense. I think that they're going to end up going with Cam Ward at number one, or they're going to trade back and take Abdul Carter. And I think that they're just going to be looking to get more talented. The Bengals, they ended up that last year bringing in a very good and very valuable safety. I think that Zach Taylor could be looking to replicate that, or not. Or Brian Callahan, not Taylor. Brian Callahan could be looking to duplicate that in Tennessee, and Javon Holland is going to end up getting a massive deal from the Titans and being able to get paid from that safety position. He's just a playmaker that could get after the passer, could make plays, and just cover a lot of the field. And we've seen that in Miami, and the Tennessee Titans are just going to be looking to upgrade their team. Other guesses, there's been a lot of rumors linking him to the Jets, and the Jets are one of the main teams that have been looking to make a push to him. It would be interesting because the Jets have not paid a safety in years. The old regime that they had with Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas did not believe in paying free agents or paying safeties at all big money. They did not want to pay any safeties. They just went with later round safeties, and it would be very interesting if the first big deal of this new regime for the Jets was to pay a safety a lot of money. And then the other team is the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, the Panthers were one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year. They're looking to pretty much just upgrade their defense, bring more talent to be able to help them out, help Bryce Young out. And that would be with Javon Holland coming in there and stepping in and being an immediate starter there to make a huge impact and not only rush defense, getting after the quarterback, bringing him on safety blitzes, but also covering the field and just being able to be a big player on that defense. So the second to last guy that I have here is Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, I think that he's going to end up signing with the Patriots. The Patriots just need weapons for Drake May. I think that their main target was going to be T. Higgins, but T. Higgins just got the franchise tag from the Bengals. So this is one of the only good wide receiver options. There's not many other ones. There's Stephon Diggs, but he's coming off an injury. Chris Godwin's also going to be coming off an injury, but I think it's more realistic that they end up getting Chris Godwin. I think that he is finally going to look to be able to get paid and get his money that he's wanting to, and the Patriots are going to be able to do that. And Mike Vrabel is going to want to add weapons for Drake May to help him out with his development. So I think it's just a match made in heaven for both of them. Chris Godwin's looking to get paid. He's coming off an injury, and the Patriots are going to be able to provide for them because they're going to be looking for more weapons, and they have one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the NFL right now. So I think them just being able to come in with the most cap space and throw a bag at Chris Godwin to take him away from the Buccaneers. So a couple other teams I can see is the Tennessee Titans. They also need weapons. I know they still got Calvin Ridley, but they could still bring him in to be able to be that other piece for whatever quarterback they end up drafting. If they end up drafting Cam Ward or keeping Will Levis, they definitely do need another piece in that wide receiver room to be another weapon for them. And Chris Godwin could end up being that piece. Another team, I think that he could just re-sign with the Buccaneers. It would benefit the Buccaneers actually a lot if they're able to re-sign Chris Godwin because he takes up a lot of cap space from them, and with the dead cap that they would get if he signed to another team, it would just be better for them to extend him because then they can push that dead cap to multiple years of his contract, and that would just really help them out with cap space, and they wouldn't get so much dead cap against them if they just brought Chris Godwin back. And he's been a lifetime book, and they can continue that and have that trio that they have with Jalen McMillan and Mike Evans. The last guy that I'm going to be predicting here is DJ Reed from the Jets. I think that there's no chance that he's going back to New York. I think that he's going to want to look to go to a contender and a nice franchise because he showed his frustrations towards the end with the Jets with how dysfunctional it was. I think that he's going to look to go to San Fran with the 49ers. The original guy that he ended up signing with, Robert Saleh, whenever he went to the Jets, and he's been playing as one of the better corners in the NFL and was one of the best free agency signings back then from the Seahawks that he came from. I think they could look to go with Robert Saleh to San Francisco. San Fran has a desperate need at corner. They need to upgrade him. Tre'Davious Ward is going to be gone. He's going to be signed somewhere else. So they need to bring in another corner, and DJ Reed is a Robert Saleh guy. So I feel like it makes the most sense to be able to go there, who he's familiar with, who he's played very well against, with a very well-run franchise and a team that could end up being a contender if they're able to stay healthy. And another team that kind of fits that bill that I think I could see him signing with is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers desperately do need corner as well. They need to upgrade at that position. I think that he could end up seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers being a well-run organization, wanting to be a part of that, seeing Mike Tomlin being the head coach for so long and what he's able to do in the culture that he has over there in Pittsburgh. I could see him wanting to go there and be a part of that to be a contender year after year and potentially making the playoffs again. Somehow Mike Tomlin's able to do it every single year. And I think that that could fit in well with him with either the San Francisco 49ers or the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that he's going to be looking for those type of situations to be able to go into. So these are all my predictions for some of the top free agents that are going to be going into the free agency starting tomorrow. Please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agreed or disagreed with that I talked about here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content I'm going to be putting out. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Moran. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Moran. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple.